now. And if you have things to contribute or things to say, please turn your mics on and feel free to help out. That is fine. But if not, I'm just going to kind of go over this and try to organize it for you so it's maybe a little less overwhelming. Okay, so what I would do first is, I think I'll just type this in, is first just say which of these processes belong in photosynthesis and which belong in respiration. So that's easy enough. We go, this is part of photosynthesis. And then I'll copy that to Calvin cycle as well. Right. And then glycolysis, Krebs cycle, and oxidative phosphorylation are all part of cell respiration. So I'm gonna cell respiration or aerobic respiration, or first of all, let's just kind of categorize them like that. All right, the next thing that I think would be logical would be to locate them in terms of which organelle they're happening in, or which part of which organelle they're happening in. So I'm going to add a little more information than I gave you. I'm going to say it's in the chloroplast. Light reactions happen in the thylakoids, and I'm going to add of the chloroplast. That gives me a location for these processes. So then in your mind you should be thinking the Calvin cycle is in the stroma, which is the liquid inside the chloroplast. Okay. I'm going to go over here, and the glycolysis and the Krebs cycle and oxidative phosphorylation. So glycolysis, you should remember, occurs in the cytoplasm. Remember that. The Krebs cycle occurs in the matrix, I'm going to add, of the mitochondria. And then I'm kind of going to copy that over here. Just getting the basics in. So oxidative phosphorylation, I could have also said electron transport chain there instead of oxidative phosphorylation. Both electron transport chain and oxidative phosphorylation are the final process of this. So I'm just going to say that oxidative phosphorylation happens in the in the inner membrane of the mitochondria. There we go. Okay. Everybody good with that part? Okay. I'm going to assume you're there because I can't hear or see you, but I'm just going to keep going. The next thing I'm going to do is, in terms of ATP, which of these make it and which of them use it? I think that's a next good thing to do. So light reactions produces ATP, right? The Calvin cycle uses ATP. In order to make those sugars, it uses the ATP that are made in the light reactions. Chloroplasts don't make enough ATP to share with the rest of the cell. Chloroplasts only make enough ATP to give to the Calvin cycle, so the Calvin cycle can make the sugars. So that's a good distinction between how ATP is produced and used in the chloroplast versus the mitochondria. Glycolysis both produces and uses it, right? So remember that glycolysis uses 2 ATP before it then produces a net of 4 ATP, doesn't it? That's kind of nice. Somebody's asking a question. I'm sorry, I can't see the screen right now. Can you tell me what you what your question is?
Never mind, you just answered it. It's okay.
Oh, good. Excellent. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and be specific with the ATP as much as we can be. So the Krebs cycle produces, not very many, 2 ATP, if you recall, not very many. And oxidative phosphorylation, which is the process happening in the electron transport chain, okay? Oxidative phosphorylation makes about 32, right? Produces 32 ATP. Enough to share with the whole cell, right? So cellular respiration is making extra and sending it out into the cell to do cell work. The chloroplast isn't doing that. It's only making enough to then make the Calvin cycle work. Okay, so that's the ATP part. Yes, go ahead.
I thought glycolysis produced a net of 2 ATP.
Oh, I made a mistake. I was thinking about how many total. Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. Thank you for correcting me. Thank you. All right. It uses 2, produces a net of 2. Good. Okay. Let's go to. All right. How about? I'm just gonna do the light reaction. I'm just gonna finish the light reaction. Okay. So the light reaction is the first part of photosynthesis. It happens in the thylakoids of the chloroplast. It does produce ATP. I will add that it has an electron transport chain. And that's how it produces ATP. It also it requires energy. I'm going to add that this form of energy that it requires is light, because it doesn't say that in there. I think that's important. The source of high energy electrons in the ETC in this case, right? Source of high energy electrons is water. Water being split, that's where those high energy electrons come from, that runs the ETC that makes ATP. Okay, and is there anything else I'm missing? No? Okay, and also it reduces an electron carrier called NADPH. There, that finishes the light reactions. Okay, gonna go to the Calvin cycle next. The Calvin cycle does not have an electron transport chain. What the Calvin cycle does is it fixes carbon, right? Or it takes CO2 turned into organic. That's what that means. That's what carbon fixation means. We talked about that. Okay. So it uses or it consumes CO2, right? Takes it out of the atmosphere and incorporates it into the sugar molecules. It produces something called P-gal, and if you don't know what that is, don't be worried. P-gal is very simply, all you need to know is it's a 3-carbon sugar. That little 3-carbon miracle sugar that comes out of the Calvin cycle. That's called P-gal. Don't worry about what it means. You don't need to know that. Okay. It involves Ru-BP, and I don't want you to worry about that. I think it's too much detail for you, and it's just too much. It's one of the intermediates of the Calvin cycle, just like oxaloacetate is one of the intermediates over here of the Krebs cycle. So I'll say involves oxaloacetate, and I will never ask you any more of that, so don't worry about it. Okay. All right, is there anything else on the Calvin cycle? Uses ATP. Oh, and yeah, actually there is one more thing. Stomata. Stomata, which are holes in leaves, that's all they are, okay? Stomata are holes in the leaves, have to be open. Otherwise, the carbon dioxide can't get inside. Must be open. There, I'll just say that. Okay. All right, glycolysis. Cytoplasm, okay, uses ATP. High energy electrons. No, that doesn't go there. Never mind. Uses carbohydrates, right? or glucose is the reactant, isn't it? That's all that means. And it requires energy. Right? There has to be an ATP, ATP input, investment phase, before it can make ATP. Okay, that's glycolysis. That's enough for that. Krebs cycle. Carbon dioxide is generated, not consumed. Evolves oxaloacetate and it reduces NADH. Oxidative phosphorylation in the mitochondria of the inner membrane makes lots of ATP, involves an electron transport chain, right, which is in the inner membrane of the mitochondria. And that's really all you need to know. If you wanted to really go into detail, you would say uses a proton gradient to synthesize with a Z, ATP. Okay. I think that gives you all the answers that you need. Let me go back up here. There. Does everybody see everything? That's it. I think that takes care of all of them, unless I missed something. Okay. And that takes us almost to the end of class. All right. All right. How are you feeling about that? Did that help organize things a little bit? I hope so. I hope so. Okay. The last thing I'm going to draw on this is that remember, the overall reaction equations can sometimes really help you out, give you a bird's eye view and cause you to remember what these two big processes are and how they're related. So if I were just really, really quickly, it doesn't take any time at all, if I were to write the overall reaction equation for photosynthesis, I would start by saying, well, it consumes carbon dioxide, right? And it also uses water, which is split, and that's the source of the electrons, and also the source of oxygen gas, by the way, in our atmosphere. And this creates, and much simpler than one arrow, but it creates, overall, it creates a glucose molecule, which is C6H12. 6, and it makes oxygen gas. There's the overall reaction for photosynthesis. We know that, oh, that's terrible. We know that you need light energy to make it go, and you need the particular membranes and proteins that are in a chloroplast and a thylakoid to make everything work, right? So then respiration, you should notice, is the exact opposite reaction. You put glucose on this side, you break it down in the presence of oxygen, since this is aerobic, and you make carbon dioxide and water. The overall reactions are opposite, right? And the source of energy with respiration is the sugar molecules. The source of energy with photosynthesis is the light. Both of them are have heavily involved flows of electrons in them as well. Oh, okay, high energy electrons would go in the oxidative phosphorylation. The high energy electrons come from food molecules in oxidative phosphorylation. I guess I forgot that one. Sorry about that. But yeah, don't forget this bird's eye view things, okay? All right, you're very welcome to go. I'm sorry I kept you a little over there. I hope that helps. And the next time we're together, we will be taking a paired essay that will kind of pull all this together and look a lot like that practice one I gave you, only with a little bit more detailed questions on it. Okay? Thank you for joining me. Thank you for all your good questions. I hope this was helpful. Yes, Hannah?
So will Friday be in the form of like an actual essay, like paragraphs and stuff?
You mean on Thursday? Yes.
Oh yeah, Thursday. Sorry.
It'll be very similar. The first part of the question will be very similar to what you practice on AP Classroom, where they'll give you a table or a graph, and then they'll say, okay, identify these two things first of all. And then there'll be another couple questions that ask you to explain maybe bits of respiration and photosynthesis in more detail.
Okay, and like more detail, would that be like just in general, like the electron transport chain, or would it be like reactants and products and stuff?
I'm still writing the detailed part of it, but yes, having done the sorting sheet will help you. Having looked in detail at the HHMI video will help you, and having those notes out to help you should carry you through that. It's just a matter of really surgically striking whatever I happen to ask, because I'll be very specific about what I ask you.
Okay, thank you so much. Have a great day.
You're welcome. Good. Yes. Reese, can I help you?
Yeah, so for the this more specific reactions within photosynthesis, like the light reaction, the Calvin cycle, is there
Yeah.
any certain videos or pictures that we should look at so we can see them kind of like drawn out or be able to draw them out on our own?
Well, I uploaded the two little videos that I just showed you today, so they're up. And I also, I mean, the HHMI animation should have been walking you through pretty much what I'm going to be focusing on.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. Have a
Does
great
that
day.
help?
Yeah,
You
thank
too. You too.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. Yes, Ariana.
Hi, Ms. Murdoch. Could you please